Welcome to Supply Chain Now, the voice of global supply chain. Supply Chain Now focuses on the best in the business for our worldwide audience, the people, the technologies, the best practices, and today's critical issues, the challenges and opportunities. Stay tuned to hear from those making global business happen right here on Supply Chain Now.
Hey, good morning. Scott Luton and Greg White with you here on Supply Chain Now. Welcome to today's episode. Greg, how you doing?
I am doing well, Scott, and I'm looking forward to speaking with our secret guest and all of the insights that they bring from transformation in supply chain.
Well, you're right.
Take it from this point, Scott.
Tag, I'm it. So we had a wonderful pre-show conversation with two of our favorites. One's a repeat guest, and this is going to be kind of like the latest installment of a sit down with him. And then we have a new guest with us here today. That's a dynamo across social media and events and keynotes. So we look forward to hearing her POV and insights here today. All around, Greg, diving into the top 3 supply chain digital transformation barriers. Now, you're going to get a lot more than that, but at the core, we're going to be talking about those key barriers that are preventing organizations from making as much progress as they'd like to with digital transformation. So stay tuned as we work to improve your business leadership IQ. Greg, you ready to dive in?
Let's do it.
All right. So let's welcome in our featured guest here today. First up, we have Kim Reuter, a global e-commerce expert and beyond. Kim, how you doing?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me. I'm super excited to be here.
We are too. We've been tracking you a good bit. I know y'all did an earlier webinar with the UCBOS team. Enjoyed that, and I enjoy your thought-provoking content on social as well. So look forward to getting it firsthand here today. So joining Kim with us here is Shan Muthuvelu, a repeat guest, CEO at UCBOS. Shan, how you doing?
I'm doing great, Scott. Good to be here. It's always exciting to have a conversation around supply chain with Greg and you.
I agree. You never know what Greg's going to say, and we just all got to buckle up. So.
I never know what I'm going to say, but this is what I'm going to say right now. And I think the fact that Kim is an e-commerce pro is critical, especially how that's contributing to disruption, if you can say disruption, but transformation in the supply chain. How can you have a conversation about supply chain these days without including e-commerce? So I'm excited here.
Well said, Greg. Well said. So look forward to it. So let's start with this. And by the way, I should say, Shan is showing his colors here.
Yeah,
so,
I saw that.
A GT fan, Georgia Tech fan, huh, Shan?
Yeah. Yes.
Wonderful.
Hell of an engineer.
All right. So, that's kind of that perfect segue, because up front, before we get to the issues of the day and we talk digital transformation and more, let's get to know our guests a little bit better. So, Kim, I want to start with you. Tell us about where you grew up and you got to give us the goods on your upbringing.
Yeah. So I grew up in rural Virginia in an area called Tidewater. So basically on the Chesapeake Bay. And I grew up in a waterman's community, and my father was an artist, and I decided that I wasn't going to be poor for the rest of my life. So I decided not to be an artist. So I grew up in a very rural area with really hardworking, sort of watermen and seafood farmers, fishermen, pound netters, crabbers. And grew up in a really connected to nature kind of way, and grew up here. Went to school in West Virginia. Go Herd, Marshall University.
Oh yeah.
And spent most of my time up and run up and down the East Coast, and then I moved out to Seattle to work for Amazon and Nordstrom, and then about a year and a half I came back to Virginia because this is where my people are, and I've been doing a lot of work with the watermen here in Virginia, a lot of philanthropy work, helping them get into e-commerce, because when COVID happened, they lost their revenue streams. And we're talking generational, 4th, 5th generation watermen. That's all they know. It's how they feed their families. And so that has been really super rewarding work and working with those guys. So I have no shortage of availability of seafood now. I actually, I get paid in oysters.
Oh my gosh,
but it's the feel good stuff.
Job in the whole world.
I do not complain. Every time I leave, they're like, "You want some oysters?" I'm like, "Yes, I do."
So, one quick follow-up question: that your father clearly chased his passion in life, being art. I bet that's a powerful lesson learned for you in your career.
It was sort of interesting. He actually worked for the government. He's extremely humble. He was part of the Army Art Corps, was a graphic artist, and then was early into computer animation, like way back when it started. And worked for Department of Defense his entire career. His work is actually in the National Archives. He's a very, talented artist. But today his passion is being a boat captain, and that's what he just does what he wants now. But yeah, it was I grew up in a very creative environment, I would say, where free thinking was encouraged.
That's wonderful. We need so much more of that today to fight through the current and new challenges across industry. And Greg, boat captain, they're talking your language, right?
Yep. My next job, win, lose, or draw, is charter boat fishing captain. Yeah.
Oh, you're a fisherman?
Well, I wouldn't go that far, Kim, but I can.
Well, we need to talk. We'll talk offline then about that.
Let's do that. I just want pictures. Yeah. I want lots of pictures. So, hey, but Kim, thanks so much for sharing. Shan, good morning. Great to have you back. Enjoyed our last sit down. Always learned something new from you and your team. But before we get to business, same question for you. Where did you grow up, and give us a story or two?
Oh, definitely. My father and my mother both from India. But my father went to Singapore when he was 4. Then he became an entrepreneur, started his own business in Singapore when he was 17. His mother was not there. His mother was in India. So I was made in Singapore, but my mom raised me in India. It took me, I became an engineer, like an electrical engineer. So my father said, you don't have to be an entrepreneur. You don't have to do business. Just get into school, get a job. But what he started as a businessman in 17, I was able to do that only when I was 37. Yeah. So you could tell that engineering thing slowed me down. But I have to tell, I moved to US after my engineering. At that time, I was more like a banking, insurance, consultant. Then the company which taught me supply chain ground up and made me who I am today is Manhattan Associates. I owe it to them because they hired me with zero knowledge in supply chain. I was just, a good consultant. They believed in me and they ought to train me. But the opportunity that I got, I was in Atlanta for a week. Then after that, I'm traveling, right? That passion never stopped. Even this year, I'm a diamond medallion in Delta.
Wow.
So you can imagine, right? I still travel all the time. And that passion started from Manhattan. Then I did my executive MBA in Georgia Tech. And I owe it to Georgia Tech for making me believe that I can be an entrepreneur and a software company CEO. I never had the thought or vision before joining them. And then, that program helped me to, come out and try something new, go out and learn something new. And very quickly, I have to say within 3 years, graduating from Georgia Tech, I was able to start, my entrepreneurship journey.
There's so much there between what Kim shared on the front end and what Shan has shared on the front end. It's like we need to do a series here. I love
their beginnings, right? Origin stories of superheroes.
Seriously.
Origin stories, yeah.
Shan, what you just shared there, and I appreciate your transparency, about how you basically garnered the faith in yourself from between family and your journey, and then your educational journey. I need to do some backtracking, but I think I was 37 when I finally pulled the trigger, and I don't have highfalutin degrees or engineering to blame for slowing me back. It was probably the love for beer and pizza, maybe. But Shan, I really appreciate you sharing, and we'll have to compare notes on our entrepreneurial journey maybe after the show. So And I think what you shared, on a more serious note, what you shared pre-show, certainly our love, our thoughts, our minds, our actions are with all of our friends in India. And I want to remind our listeners, we've got a great nonprofit we're supporting, vibha.org, vibha.org, to help get some critical supplies to our friends. So if you're listening, check out the site, and we'd love to have your support there. Okay. So Greg, before I kind of transition over to Eureka moments and some other things, any commentary from you on what we just heard from Kim and Shan?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think it's interesting someone to bring an artistic perspective to supply chain. As you said, Scott, that's really important. And then, of course, in Shan's story, I don't think you can overstate the impact of the ecosystem, the supply chain ecosystem in Atlanta between Manhattan Associates and UPS and Miller-Zell and E3 and other companies that have been here for a long time and founded here and continue to operate here. I mean, there are dozens, maybe hundreds of them now. And of course, Georgia Tech is such a great educator, a great knowledge builder, a great enabler of people with that mindset. So I think it's a great testament not only to Shan and to obviously his respect and deference to both Manhattan and Georgia Tech, but also to the ecosystem in Atlanta. And it's a powerful thing to see when you see somebody like Shan come out of all of that hard work. It's good to know that work is paying off.
Excellent point. I appreciate that, and completely agree with you. So I want to shift gears over to kind of getting a better professional feel for both of our guests here. And so, Kim, tell us what you do now, and then also, we have all these Eureka moments across our journey in recent times, every day. Tell us what you do and give us a key Eureka moment that you've uncovered as part of your journey.
So currently I consult in global e-commerce. I work with companies of all sizes that are either trying to move into the DTC space or expand their footprint worldwide. I also help them with their supply chain, and a lot of what I think about, because I started my career as a freight forwarder broker in Norfolk and Baltimore. So I'm a licensed customs broker. So, I started my first 15 years was in that end of supply chain, right? And then I moved into the e-commerce, the direct-to-consumer piece of e-commerce, of supply chain. So I help clients work through that whole piece and understand the speed and the intricacies of doing an e-commerce business, because it is entirely different than a retail organization. And a lot of companies have a really hard time understanding that, and they have to fail again and again and again until they start to realize that. So if I can get engaged with them, I can walk them through some of these things so they can avoid those boulders in the night, as we call it.
Yes, and avoid those painful Eureka moments. They're
Right.
not all created equal, unfortunately.
Yeah, I have a great Eureka moment. So when I started as a broker, import, customs compliance, right? So I was all about, regulations and laws and that kind of thing. And I got recruited by Amazon in 2005 to build out a program at the time that it was called Timex. I spent 3/4, this is actually a cute story. I spent 3/4 of my interview thinking that we were talking about watches, because they kept talking about Timex. And so I'm in this little tiny room at Amazon, like they lock you in there for like 8 hours. They don't even feed you. that's it. It's an endurance test. And they were like, Timex. I'm like, dang, these people are all about the watches. But it actually stood for transportation, import, export, which is actually the worst name I'd ever heard. But anyway, so I started at Amazon, and I was suddenly in charge of like all imports and exports at Amazon in 2005. And I was specifically hired to build out this program called Amazon Global and launch this new product, which is now, at the time, was one of the industry leading cross-border solutions for e-commerce, still the industry leading solution. But it was brand new to the market. And I was having a hard time because people were coming to me and asking me my opinion. And I was like, nope, can't do it. Nope, can't do it. hazmat, legal aliens, blah, 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 blah. No. And so people started working around me about 6 months in, like people would just stop coming to me and they were doing their own thing. And I was like, no, man, it's my job. You have to come to me. And I was just fighting it the whole way. And I went to my mentor by the name of Mike McKenna, who actually recruited me to go work at Amazon. He and I had worked together previously at Expeditors. And I went to Mike and I was like teary-eyed and I'm like, they're not listening to me. And, I'm just trying not to cry. And I'm just like, I don't know what's going on. And I'm just whining, right? And all of a sudden I can tell that Mike doesn't care because he leans back and he's like, and I'm like, well, aren't you going to help me? He goes, no, I'm not going to help you, Kim. And I was like, what do you mean? He goes, here's your problem. You're saying no too much. You have to stop saying no. No is not the answer. He's like, you have to come up with 3 different options and no cannot be it. Yes, you can do it. Yes, we can do it. It's a lot of risk. And yes, we can do it, but somebody's going to jail. Those are your answers. You can no longer say no.
Love that. It's like the
So that was my eureka moment. And
Yes.
I stopped saying no. What?
I love it. It's like the anti-Steve Jobs advice, because he seems like you gotta say no. You gotta say no. But I love that important lesson learned, because you also got to enable your teams, enable your people. You talked about failing. If we're not failing, we're not trying, and you got to say yes, so folks can succeed and fail. So Kim, that was worth the price of admission, just what you shared there. So look forward to what we're going to be tackling next. But Shan, before I pass the baton to the one and only Greg White, let's make sure we capture your what you're doing now. We'll talk about UCBOS in a minute, but tell us what you're doing now and that key eureka moment.
Perfect. Currently, I'm just trying to help, my companies grow, then my customers solve their supply chain digital transformation problems. That's what I'm personally helping them with. And my eureka moment is, the large enterprises are small to medium businesses that we deal with around the world. For them to be, leading in the market, right, to be successful. They have ERP systems, they have supply chain best of the breed packages, they have middleware platforms, they have data warehouses, data lakes, you name it. But I was wondering why there is no business platform, right? Why there is no business platform? They have everything. They are even coming up with new things like, blockchain and AI, ML, all kinds of stuff. The reason there is no business platform is, how do you go design and develop that business platform? If you develop one for Coca-Cola, it'll be for Coca-Cola business platform, Delta business platform, Home Depot business platform, Ahold, the leading grocery company in the world, business platform. And I thought, I can do a business platform if that business platform is 100% self-learning, self-adapting, right? Meaning, it can be a Delta business platform. It can be a Coca-Cola business platform. It can be American military's business platform. And that was my eureka moment. So.
I love that. All right. So Greg, where do we go from here?
Well, I have a couple questions. One, Shan, can you give us a quick definition of business platform? Because what I sense, the learning aspect of it is kind of like Kim's eureka moment. You can work at a place and understand that business very well, but you have to go to another place and learn it to be able to work in that environment. So I get the learning aspect of it, but I think it would be great to share what, kind of the definition of business platform for our listeners.
Definitely, yeah. So a business platform is, instead of you putting together a platform, developing components at a granular level to do, let's say, this will do warehousing, this will do transportation, this will do master data, and this will do all my scenario planning for my business. Instead of thinking like that, right? A business platform is the business users, right? Not the developers and IT architects, right? This is the business user. He thinks, I have a department, I have an organization. My organization is in charge of transportation, but that is tied to government regulations, right? Let's say your department is in charge of transportation tied to government regulations. Then what do you need as a solution to run that department and organization? That means you should be able to put your policies, procedures, connect to all the systems, whether it's your ecosystem or external ecosystems, but build a solution for you, connecting the policies, procedures, systems, data, everything, including all the latest machine learning and everything by yourself without a single line of coding. The business users, whether you are a business analyst or a business architect or a supply chain engineer or an operational manager, can you build this organization and compose your own solutions, right? Because if you go to the market, there won't be a solution available for you because you have WMS, TMS, right? But you don't have something, a transportation tied to government policies, or a pricing tied to merchandising, or an inventory demand planning, tied to IoT, right? So this is the place where we want a business platform where you can compose it and you are not creating the code.
So you create the connections between those various segments of solutions yourself, sitting at your desk.
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And you're not just connecting, even the how you want to build your solutions, right? Department, right. The solution, business asset creation, and then giving a workflow capability. Then again, going back and talk back to the best of the breed, like Manhattans and Blue Yonders and SAPs, right? The whole thing should be able to be done by the business people in a composable platform. You are not sitting and coding. When I say you should not be coding, no SQL, you're not writing a SQL, you're not writing a JavaScript, you're not throwing in a code or any type of stored procedures. You're a business person, you understand business, and you're just clicking buttons, right? You're just thinking for your business and developing your business, wow. Right? Whether it's a top line or a bottom line, and that's where the world should go, right? And that's what will help the world to get to market faster.
Greg, I gotta pick up on, I think I've just been clicking buttons my entire career. So I love that. Love that phrase, Shan. I think so many folks can relate to that.
Yep. Scott can replace Greg.
I don't know about that.
With a button. Here's the say anything button.
Yeah.
Well, that's fantastic. So that's a bit of what you're doing at UCBOS, right? Is a solution that enables business users on the desktop to build their own solutions, to build their own viewpoint, to build their own visibility into their business and into their business partners as well. Is that a fair estimation of what you're doing at UCBOS?
Yes. So even though the acronym stands for Unified Commerce Business Optimization System, but it is really the world's first business composable supply chain transformation platform. To increase your productivity and profitability in days or weeks. Stephanie, who's a VP of sales in our company, she's the one who came up with the days or weeks because we can bring up a solution in a days or week. We can connect a complex IT ecosystem, supply chain ecosystem in a week, all right, without a single line of code. This is completely SaaS and a PaaS and no code. But it's not only no code. Let's say if Delta adapts this platform and develops $100 million worth of solutioning in the next 10 years, that $100 million worth of solutioning does not require a single extra line of code. That is the change for them, right? If you're creating the $100 million worth of solution without a single line of extra code, that is the total cost of ownership savings for the future, right? Then you don't have the black boxes. You don't have to re-engineer because you're not coding. That is the $1 billion savings for the multi-billion-dollar companies. And this is not meant for small businesses, right? This is for massive enterprises who do not want to create the black boxes and the total cost of ownership and custom coding, bespoke development, custom integrations, right? And this platform enables them also to do plug and play with multi ERPs, Manhattan Cloud WMS, right? Oracle, OTM, Cloud, IoT, you name it, right? And that's the game, days or weeks. Plug and play.
That's powerful stuff, because the other thing that's enables is the ability to experiment. You don't have to say no. You can say, yes, it's tough, or yes, it works for now, and we might have to change it later.
Well said, well said. Since you're not generating any code and test and deployment, nothing, right? Your business users, you throw 100 scenarios. On an average, our guys throw 50 scenario planning workflows in 2 days. So you can imagine, right? And out of the 50, even if 5 produces top line results or bottom line results, the remaining 45, all you have wasted is the business analyst time of 2 days.
That's fantastic. Gosh, I just think that's so powerful these days, to allow the desktop users to kind of solve their problems. You know, in the past, distant past, Shan, we used analytics that were a little bit more intuitive, that allowed users to do that and not have to go to IT, and also not create all that technology debt for a company, right? Because if you've spent days or hours building something, if you stop using it or disable it, the investment isn't significant enough for it to be that impactful cost-wise, so you don't feel obligated to use it. And I think that's really powerful. So, you know, what I think this really enables is, we talk a lot about transformation, digital transformation, supply chain transformation, all kinds of transformations, but because things are so much in flux, it seems like this is kind of a great vehicle. But there are a lot of things that get in the way of those kind of transformations. So Kim, as you work with a lot of companies, can you tell us a little bit about some of those barriers that you're seeing, and how companies are attacking those?
Yeah, absolutely. So the biggest barrier is speed. And companies, you know, especially larger companies that Shan works with, they still have this old sort of waterfall approach, right? They talk about agile all day, right? They're just like, agile, we do agile, you know, they got all the books and they got all the terms down. But when they actually look into enacting that and actually being agile and flexible and fast and quick and all those things, they can't do it. And so speed is, especially, first of all, just in e-commerce period, it's all about speed. And especially right now, since we are making 10 years, we've grown e-commerce to 10 years in the last year, right? So companies who are just waiting, it's not working. And so, you know, as an example, you know, I have clients who are trying to do DTC and get 3PL set up. And you got about 2 months right now to get into a new 3PL, if you can find space, okay? Because you have to be in and ready by September. I tell my clients, you gotta be in and cranking by September. You gotta be ready for peak season. You're not sliding in on November 1st, and never gonna happen. So, you know, and so when I talk to companies who are like, well, we're not sure yet, we're gonna wait and see what Amazon does this year. I'm like, well, I'll see you on the flip side, because it ain't gonna work. So speed is so important right now.
Yeah, and especially now, because we're already preparing for peak, right? It's May. So imports, if they're even going to make it here, they better be on their way, and they better be headed for a port, because there's going to be a big delay in getting them landed, right? And a lot of companies, they have their peak goods landed by September, as you're talking.
Oh yeah.
So.
Oh yeah. When I was running imports at Amazon, our last peak season inventory was in by mid-October, latest.
Wow.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's probably only because you didn't also have to deploy to stores, right? At Nordstrom, I'm sure they were in even earlier.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Because then you have to do the distribution and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, exactly. But in order to keep up with e-commerce and try to compete in this world, the things that Shan and UCBOS are doing are what's going to enable companies to move quickly.
Yeah. Well, Shan, you must be seeing a lot of the same thing. You speak to a lot of chief supply chain officers and chief digital officers and CTOs and that sort of thing. So what are you seeing in terms of hurdles, barriers, whatever you want to call it, to transformation?
Definitely. I would concur with Kim as well. The speed, the slow speed to solution is definitely on their mind, because they are not, two reasons there. One is the time, one is the budget, right, and the resources. So they want it faster. I met a chief digital officer in very known company. I don't want to quote him; it was a personal meeting. But he wants to transform his store in Atlanta into a fulfillment center, all right? And then typically what comes to our mind is, okay, fine, it's just a WMS implementation, right? Just store becoming a warehouse. But he said, no, Shan, no, don't think like that, right? I want to do, right, warehousing functions, store functions, inventory functions, customer experience functions, and also, right, more like office functions in this one facility. That means I need a new solution. It's almost like a new way he wants to run the store, including automation, right? All kind of tasks which are nothing to do with inventory, right? More to do with customer experience and other things. But he wants this in 2 months, and he wants everything to be, like a process flow building system, right? So I said, and so it resonated with what we are trying to do. So what I see definitely in the market is that, speed to solution, right? Faster. But what they're throwing is not what I'm known to. They're throwing, right, something, a process that they want, creatively putting things together, but they're expecting that to happen very, very fast, right? It's almost like, I want these, I want to land in Mars, but I'm going to procure, like a Ford engine, but you got to make it happen, right? Just procure the components everywhere and piece it together, man. And the mission is not to going to Seattle or going to Cedar Rapids, right? The mission is to go to Mars.
Yeah, that's a good point.
That's a great one.
So I know there are other things that you guys are seeing out there. Kim, do you want to take a shot at some of the other kind of barriers that you are seeing? You both work with so many companies, so maybe share one or two more that you all are experiencing, and if you can, how you are or how companies are attacking and overcoming some of these.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing that I see out in the market today, and it's something that I harp on all the time and a lot of my blogs and podcasts, is people want to jump into this, omni-channel space, right? That word's been around forever. And so people want to do pick up at store. They want to do pick up at my warehouse. They want to be pick up at somebody else's store. They want to do all these things, right? And they throw all this money into marketing and customer experience and all of this like upfront stuff, right? Because that's where the money's spent. And they don't spend any money, or we get the little pennies that come out of the bottom of the sieve, right? To work on supply chain and logistics, or they're all about like, oh, we've got like Uber drivers who are going to do all our deliveries, and we're going to do deliveries in 2 hours. That's so cool. And I'm like, well, do you know where your stuff is? Because that's awesome that you're going to be able to deliver something in 2 hours. But if it takes you 7 hours to find it, I don't see where the benefit is. So, I continue to see that in the industry where people are not taking supply chains seriously, and they aren't understanding supply chains impact on the customer experience. And I think we're getting a little bit of a taste of that now. When people ran out of toilet paper, they all of a sudden understood customer experience with, supply chain having a very bad experience. And so that's what I'm seeing in the market, is that companies have to look at things like inventory integrity. They have to look at things like visibility, real-time reporting, and integration within organizations. You would be surprised how many big companies out there still have, IBM servers on-prem. Like, I like, I'm like, what do you warm your coffee with that? Like, why do you have that? And so.
Because it's still running, right?
So
I mean, that seems to be the main answer. Just won't go away.
Exactly what they say. Yeah, they're like, we know where it is, we know how it acts, like we're okay with it. Like there's no surprises with this. So that's what I'm seeing in the market, is that companies are slow. And I think the other reason that companies are slow to embrace supply chain as a customer experience is it's really hard. It takes a lot of integration. It takes a lot of software. It takes a lot of effort. And it's not sexy, right? It doesn't show up on a website. So that's where I see a lot of what's happening in the industry. And I think what Shan is bringing to, and UCBOS is bringing to the table, is a way to break through those barriers and be able to work across systems and have inventory visibility and create better customer experiences without going through an 8-month ERP and a 3-year implementation. And I know that sounds crazy, but those are real numbers.
Yeah. I love
a bit of passion there, Greg, huh?
I love to tell the story of the first company I consulted at as an independent, who I shan't name, and they said, we're in the 7th year of our 2-year X implementation, right? So it happened. That's true. And it's interesting because we've heard a lot of phrases, and a lot of companies, as you said, they think of customer experience as presenting the goods well and delivering the goods well and delivering them in time. But the truth is, it doesn't matter how you present them or how fast you deliver them if you don't have them. And the ultimate arbiter of customer experience is to have the product that the customer wants, right?
Yeah.
So Shan, what else are you seeing in terms of barriers to transformation for some of these companies?
Definitely. So if you take speed as the first barrier, the couple of other barriers that definitely on top of the C-level officers' mind is, one is the systems are disjointed, right? They were not able to converge their ecosystem. They were not able to orchestrate between their systems in their ecosystem. But now they have even taken it to the outside ecosystem, meaning you have your own ecosystem as a company, as an enterprise, right? That already has maybe 10 best of the breed, 1 or 2 ERP and 100 plus bespoke modules, or maybe just SaaS and modules, right? But now they want to connect to the 3PL ecosystem, as Kim is talking about, your supplier vendor ecosystem, your importer ecosystem, and last but not the least, your customers, right? That's what even Kim is talking about, customer experience, right? The customer wants to know, I did not get the product. They want to know, where is my product? Are you still, milking the cow in Denmark or in India or Vietnam, right? They want to know that. They're not just interested in, okay, I won't get it for the next 3 weeks, right? That's the level of detail they want. And that means, you need to, the convergence that is required is in your ecosystem and also in the external ecosystem, right? And even in that, putting all these ecosystems connected, bring the data the way you want to see it, then they're saying, don't show me data which is outdated, meaning don't show me end of the night data, end of the week data. I wanted real-time visibility because I want to predict it. Can you ship it to Kim, tomorrow 5 a.m. or not, right? And who's going to fail, right? What if the last mile delivery company fails? That's what I see in this, right? Almost 90% of the shipment that I wanted to my home, which are not small deliveries, did not come. Nobody even followed up, right? I have to follow up and beg to them, whether it's for my home or for my company. Right. For my home, I ordered, a few new toilets, didn't show up, and nobody even followed up. It took me, many weeks to even find out who's the last mile delivery company, and that even right, it's not openly available. Same thing for our businesses. We ordered some custom made mailboxes, man, it didn't show up. And they were easily asking me, go cancel it. I said, if I cancel it, I would wait for another 6 weeks, 8 weeks, right? So that's what is happening. So how do you join your ecosystem, external ecosystem, then again, getting the visibility, right? But all in the high speed, right? These are the 3 barriers that we want to overcome for our customers.
And I think that's really important for the customers, because customers are more aware of supply chain now than they ever have been. First of all, they're aware of it at all, which is way more aware than they ever have been. And I know this because when I talk to my parents about supply chain at the dinner table, I don't have to explain it anymore.
Exactly.
Right. And customers know, like you, Shan, I mean, you don't have to be in the industry like you are to know to try to figure out how to chase down where your product is. And and even if you have to do that, and even if you can coordinate that, that's still responsive, not preemptive. And I think to be able to be more preemptive in supply chain is the absolute critical factor, because we heard from, and now this was a philanthropy, but I think it applies to everyone. We heard from someone in Africa who said, no product, no program. So if you can't deliver the product, it doesn't matter how good your marketing is, or how good your product selection is, or how good your checkout experience is, or how fast you say you can deliver it if you don't have it. So we have to meet a lot of those expectations.
Yeah. There's an interesting stat out there, actually, that 80% of first-time customers to a website, right, will not come back if they have a bad delivery experience. Okay. So when you think about that, if you have a new DTC business, or you're trying to grow your business and you dump all this money into customer acquisition, and I've worked with companies that have spent like $700, $1,000 per customer for acquisition, right? And those aren't even that outrageous of numbers. And then turn around and cancel 20% of the orders because they don't have any idea what's going on with their inventory. You're literally just throwing money out the door. Like, it's just give the customer $800 then. I mean, that's basically what you did. So
you
yeah,
get a lot of customers doing it that way, Kim.
This is why I don't work in marketing, by the way. But companies aren't taking the supply chain seriously yet.
Wow, that is stunning. After what we have seen on the heels of COVID, you know, the awareness among consumers that companies aren't doing that. I mean, I know that there are many, many more who are much more aware, like your watermen, right, on the Chesapeake Bay. I assume they're selling direct to some extent, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
The channels of their supply chain broke down on them, and they really had no choice. Yeah. We've seen farmers doing the same thing, and even small farms, right? People buying chickens. I don't know if you know this. That's a huge thing. People are buying chickens and keeping chickens in their backyards. But that's making some homeowners associations pretty happy. But
let me tell you, I had a fight with a rooster down the road the other day. That little booger went off at like 4 a.m. and he went all day long. And I was like, you and I are going to have a conversation if this happens again.
And it's going to involve mashed potatoes.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. Coco Van, that's how it started.
Your Amazon experience, right? People aren't saying, no, that can't be done. They're saying, yes, it's risky. Yes, it's costly. Hopefully they're not saying, yes, I could go to prison, but people are finding a way to get goods if consumers can't get goods, or if shippers can't get goods to them. So you have to perform in this day and age. And so much of transformation, I think, first of all, when I think about digital transformation, I think there are 100 definitions. And Scott and I were recently introduced to what seemed like a 4-hour conversation around digital transformation by 2 really expert people. They used a lot of terms I have no idea about. One of them was really smart, and he was sure to tell us every 15 minutes just how smart he was. And that didn't help me, frankly. That did not help me understand digital transformation. So I'm curious, I think there are a lot of companies out there that are sort of defaulting to no, because digital transformation is hard to conceive, it's hard to construct, it's hard to deploy. So when you experience that, so many companies that don't know where to start, where do you all suggest that? How do you suggest that executives or leaders take on this task and really get started with digital transformation? Shan, you want to take that first?
Okay. Yep.
Sorry.
Okay, no problem. Yeah. So, the common thing, people think, digital transformation means just digital e-commerce, right? That's, that's not true. But it's not that they are not getting it. It's really, where to start, where to end, right? That's the thing. And then in one liner, we can say, how you can make your physical processes disappear, right? But I also take it in my own world, right? What it takes for you today to, right, you have created a solution, whether it was a warehousing solution or an inventory availability solution or an IoT solution, right? And you have done it. It's still a program that runs behind the scenes. It's not paper. But if you have to modernize it, either you have to modernize it or bring in a new system or build your own system, what is it taking for the transformation? If that transformation is a manual spreadsheet planning and manual, a team, right, deciding I need to plug this out, plug this in. I need to sunset this, bring this in. I need to code this, uncode this. If that's what you're doing in your transformation and all you're doing is, again, manual work, then again, creating the black boxes, but you're just going to, instead of that black box running in a COBOL or RPG, it's going to run in maybe Angular and Java. So be it. So what? What did we gain? You just transform the same problem into a more complicated problem. At least in RPG, I can press 14 and that will compile and deploy at the same time in production, right? In 1 second. In the new world, I have no idea what went wrong, right? I need to pull in 10 guys to investigate what's going on. All right, that is the transformation. If you are going through, then that's not what you want to do as a digital transformation. Your digital transformation should be, right, how your organization, your business people and IT people can orchestrate your transformation of going from one department to another department, one line of business to another line of business, merging with another company, or setting your goals or resetting your goals, or right, all these things should be done in a system digitally, right? And that is the true digital transformation, right? I am going from a larger DC distribution to a market DC. I'm transforming my store into a fulfillment center, right? I am making my store, 20% occupied by people, 80% it's self-operated by customers. You walk in, you are operating, right? And I'm going to enable store workers to be, school kids. I'm going to enable my neighbors to do the, my curbside pickup. This is the new world, right? How do you enable this kind of digital transformation, but without coding for it and without sitting and developing it, right? And this is the digital transformation. Your business, no matter what you want to do, right? Can you do it faster with the great minds you have? The great minds you have are the people who understand your business. And you should not be thinking my people are, companies should not think you are not a software company, you are not a development company, you're right. You are a company selling a product, right? Giving a service. So and that is the strength, and that's the great minds they have. And today, instead of spending the time on how to grow the business, how to give the customer experience, they are researching and troubleshooting why my code did not deploy, why my data did not translate, right? That is not digital transformation, right? Digital transformation is how you can grow your business, right, in a way that you can do anything that you want in terms of, as I said, line of business, collaborating with others, customer experience, bringing in applications, but without manually sitting and touching and doing and deploying.
We've talked so much about speed and needing to be agile in an environment like this where things are changing so fast. And I think this no code type solution that you're talking about, Shan, is it's critical to being able to do that, because you may have a view that you need or a set of data that you need to analyze just one time, but it's absolutely critical in that moment to solve that problem for that customer, right?
And it's not just us. I think whether this technology is produced by Oracle, SAP, or Manhattan for the modules, the specific modules, or someone like us, or even if you're IT. All right, the world has to be working in a business platform setting where you can compose everything together, right? This is not just the UCBOS is the only solution that's going to do this, right? Everyone have to adapt to this philosophy and thinking, and we are open to even consult with corporates, educating them on how we do things so that they can also do things this way. It saved us money, right? Instead of us creating 1 million line of code to do what others are doing, right? We only created 1/1000th of that code, but it still does the same thing.
It's interesting because that tech debt is real, right? I just worked with a tech company that had to wipe out 1 million lines of their own code because it was unused anymore, and they had moved on to new techniques and that sort of thing for some of their technology. A name you might be familiar with, Shan. Kim, so you work with a lot of companies too. Please, I know that you have to have shared this knowledge with some supply chain execs, but please give some insights in, from your perspective on how companies can tackle this digital transformation, and maybe even how you've seen some companies practically deploy it.
Yeah. So I think the first thing I always, when I talk to a company, and this is going to sound kind of petty, but I try to get them away from all the new industry terms, right? So I went to go work for a big Fortune 500, one of my first consulting gigs. And I get in there, and the first thing everybody's talking about their big rocks. I'm like, your big, I don't really want to see your big rocks. I'm not interested in your big rocks. But what it was is that they had read this whole philosophy about planning and how you set milestones and things like that. And they were so wrapped up in the terminology that they weren't getting any work done. So that's one of the first things I try to do is either embrace what they're saying or just get rid of it because it's not useful. Because that is, to them, is digital transformation, right? We're agile now. We're using the right terms, where we're having stand-ups, we're passing a teddy bear around and who gets to talk. And it's like, that's not what digital transformation is really about. Digital transformation is about is getting rid of Excel spreadsheets, is getting rid of set it and forget it, is getting rid of, amen, preach it, getting rid of 3-year, RFPs. And I worked with a company that was still implementing software that was 7 years old. And I was like, you literally bought a brand new BMW 7 years ago, and you're still waiting for it to arrive, and you're still paying for it. Why are you doing this? So I think digital transformation is really about a change in the mental model and the mindset of how companies think about deploying and implementing software, and then also how they think about how they do business, right? Because retail can't trump all anymore. A lot of retail companies have a hard time putting digital above retail, right? Because they've been a retail company for so long. They have a real hard time prioritizing the e-commerce business over the retail business. And then the other thing that I see that is one of the biggest challenges out there is getting executive alignment on exactly what it means, and kind of what you guys talked about, right? Is that you get two executives talking about digital transformation, and they're talking about two entirely different things. They're not even on the same page. And then you got organizations going in different orgs. So, in summary, I think having clear vision on what that means for an organization, not getting wrapped up in, the terms, and what that does is actually oppresses the workers, right? The actual people doing the work, because now they got to learn all these stupid terms too, and they can't get any work done. And then also embracing speed. We keep talking about speed. You have to move faster. You have to move. You have to execute. When I started at Amazon, I was recruited early 2000s. We were doing instant deployment then. we were releasing code daily. We weren't doing, bi-weekly code releases. We're working on 2-week sprints, but if we had a situation, we could release code whenever we wanted. And there's organizations out there today who still can't do that.
Yeah.
So
go ahead, Scott.
So there's so much here. I feel like I'm getting a degree in digital transformation, what to do and what not to do. But we got to start to wind things down. And I want to pose one more question to both of y'all before we make sure folks know how to connect with both Shan and Kim, because I'm sure folks are going to want to. Oprah might reach out to you both and have you on the show to explain some of these things. It's really fascinating. So everyone's crystal balls are broken, have been broken for at least 18 months, but we're gonna have y'all bring those crystal balls back out, broken or not, and embrace your inner futurist. Talk about a phrase that's been thrown around quite a bit. Everyone's a futurist. I think everyone's got a hunch of what's to come. But give us one thing, and when you think about global supply chain to industry and what's to come. All three of y'all been speaking about, former state, current state, and future state. But what's one thing that you think we should hang our hat on of what is coming in global supply chain? And Shan, let's go back to you. What's your one thing?
The one thing is enterprises realizing two things are failing. One is I am still stuck in my legacy systems, right? And even though I feel like I'm modernizing it, but you're still modernizing your legacy. They're stuck in that. They have to, modernize, right? They need to come out. The number two is the new things that they tried in the last 3 years. They did not approach it the right way, meaning few of my customers tried the brand new robotic platforms for picking. They tried brand new software for warehousing and transportation. And they come back and say things failed and the total program fails. And it may be a $3 million thing, but there will be 30 million around all that integrations and all this ecosystem building. That should not be the approach, right? Things may fail, right? Your robotic company that you integrated with may fail, but you should be able to switch that to a new platform within a few weeks and keep going. You should be able to switch to let's say Manhattan's, WMS Cloud is in the market now. If you want to switch to it, you should be able to switch it in a snap and go, right? And you don't have to re-engineer whatever you did in the past. Anything that is secret sauces for you, you should be able to compose it. Anything which is the secret sauce of Manhattan, secret sauce of the robotic companies, and secret sauce of Oracle, SAP, you should go to them. We should have a clear vision here as a corporate in terms of digital transformation, meaning anything that you do from now on, you can throw away the equipments, the partnerships, the bodies and others, but your work cannot be thrown away. If that's happening, you're not going to be transforming digitally.
Wonderful. And Shan, part of what I heard there, taking a page out of Kim's book, is don't let your service providers, your vendors, your partners tell you no. It can be done. Don't let them tell you no. So I love that, Shan. Kim, what's your one thing that we can expect in global supply chain?
So from a supply chain perspective, I think the biggest thing that we're going to see is companies are going to stop relying on China. So I think, that's a bit obvious. And I've worked with a lot of organizations that are looking for other places to source. So I think that's one of the biggest shifts that we'll see are people actually looking at other countries to source product. And I think from an e-commerce perspective, from a supply chain logistics perspective and customer, I think that, so one of the big things is starting to happen, right? We're running out of paper, running out of cardboard, boxes. People get boxes every day. They're not taking them back to Amazon for Amazon to reuse them. So I think that out of necessity, we will start to see some innovation in that last mile delivery that is around consolidation.
I love that. Greg, you and I have talked about the cardboard corrugated dilemma. And with this constant growth of e-commerce, you used to think that the piles of boxes during the holidays, it is year round now. So that should drive, and it will drive. I think the beautiful thing there is the action that the consumers are demanding when it comes to sustainability and the circular economy will drive more innovation in the world of containers. So we'll see how that happens. But Greg, before y'all gave us so much to think about, even on that last question, Kim and Shan, y'all are breaking the rules here on us. But before I make sure we connect our guests with our listeners, Greg, any final words on what they just shared, their bold, fearless predictions?
Yeah, well, I mean, yes, on both of those, I think we're going to see a lot more movement towards reshoring and nearshoring and different shoring, and automation will become a big part of production. It has to be. Unfortunately, the catch-22 there is most robotics are built in China. So we have to resource some of those kind of products. And I think we have to see companies, particularly direct-to-consumer, retail, distribution, even, and manufacturing. We have to see all those companies really embrace some aspect of digital transformation, because, for instance, even manufacturers who have lived fat and happy on gigantic net profits, even net profits greater than multiples of times greater than retailers and distributors, with their entree into single pick for consumer, for direct to consumer, and last mile, which continues to get much more expensive and complex. Those companies are going to have to find efficiencies elsewhere, because we have discovered, I don't think it's as expensive as the traditional carriers have made last mile, which is why, as Kim talked about, we're going to see a lot of disruption and consolidation in that marketplace. But it is more expensive than I think any of us expected. So we have to find efficiencies elsewhere in the supply chain, and those efficiencies can't impact negatively in any way the customer experience. And remember, no product, no program. So you have to deliver, and you're going to have to do so cost effectively.
That is such one of our favorite phrases that came out of our supply chain leadership across Africa series that we do with our friends at SAPIX, and that one show was worth the price of admission there. So Greg, great.
It must be. We must have used that 100 times since, right, Scott?
And I may get her name wrong. I think it was Dominique Zwinkels.
That's exactly right.
Yeah, that leads that healthcare initiative to bring it to families in need. So great call out there. Okay. So what all three of you are telling us to do is we got to think creatively. We got to think much more creatively. We got to be like Kim Reuter's father. We got to think that creatively to solve these challenges, new and old.
Yeah,
absolutely.
That's a great call out, artistically even, right? That creatively.
That's why we need more artists and folks of all ilk from all walks of life in global supply chain. So
no doubt.
With that said, let's wrap here and make sure folks know how to connect with both of you. So Ken, let's start with you. I know we had to go through both of y'all's agents to get you booked. Y'all stay so busy, keynotes, solving the world's problems, podcasts, you name it. But Kim, how can folks connect with you?
I think hit me up on LinkedIn is a great way to get in touch. And then also you can get in touch with me through my website, Clarity Scale Growth. And there is a Let's Talk. You can hit me up through there. It's the best way to get in touch.
Wonderful. And Shan, how about you? How can folks connect with you and the great team over at UCBOS?
Good. I'm active on LinkedIn, so they can definitely connect with me through LinkedIn. It's Shan Muthuvelu. It's really SHAN. They can also reach me and my team through UCBOS.com. It's UCBOS.com, but we pronounce this as UCBOS. If they are in Atlanta, right, I love to meet them in Raising the River, right? That's one of the favorite places.
Good choice.
Any seafood place, right? We'll be happy to go and enjoy a seafood tower.
Wonderful. And of course, you can check out Shan on the road, as he talked about, an avid traveler. So wonderful conversation with you both. I really appreciate y'all's approach here. Greg, we have tackled, this has been like an academy, a supply chain academy. Lots of lessons learned here, Greg, but a pleasure to do it. I loved your what you added. All of us are passionate about that customer experience. You know, it's been called different things in supply chain for decades, but I really have enjoyed how the global business is really kind of unifying folks under this new these new phrases and whatnot. So on that note, we're gonna have to call it a show for now, but huge thanks to Kim Reuter, global e-commerce expert, and of course, Shan Muthuvelu, CEO at UCBOS. Greg White, excellent show. One final succinct word before I sign off, Greg.
Well, we solved the mystery of what UCBOS stands for. I appreciate Shan saying that out. And I think, look, technology and digital transformation is about enabling people in the field and on the desktop. And that this no code concept is really, really powerful in doing that. And I think that's a really important move forward in digital transformation. The people on the ground have to do it for transformation to be complete.
Excellent point. Don't say no. The customers want good news. And if you can't give them good news, they want the right news and accurate news. So on that note, on behalf of our entire team here at Supply Chain, on behalf of Greg White, our whole team, hey, don't forget vibha.org, VIBHA.org, if you want to support our friends in India. But beyond that, I hope this finds you well wherever you are. Remember, do good, give forward, be the change that's needed. And on that note, we'll see you next time here at Supply Chain Now. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks for being a part of our Supply Chain Now community. Check out all of our programming at supplychainnow.com and make sure you subscribe to Supply Chain Now anywhere you listen to podcasts. And follow us on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, and Instagram. See you next time on Supply Chain Now.